Maybe it's time for old people to stop working and retired.
I'm sorry.
The entire restaurant burst into laughter the moment billionaire Ethan Caldwell looked at the elderly waitress who had accidentally spilled a few drops of coffee near his table and said, "Maybe it's time for old people like you to stop working and start waiting for retirement." The laughter spread across the room. Customers smirked. Even a few employees looked away awkwardly. The old waitress lowered her head and whispered softly, "I'm sorry, sir." But Ethan wasn't finished. He pulled out a $100 bill and tossed it onto the floor. "Here, pick it up. You clearly need it more than I do." The restaurant became painfully silent. The elderly woman stared at the money. Her hands trembled, yet she said nothing. No anger, no argument, no tears, just a quiet smile. And somehow, that smile made Ethan uncomfortable. What nobody inside that restaurant knew was that within 72 hours, the old waitress would change Ethan's life forever, and not in the way anyone expected. The story of Ethan Caldwell, one of the wealthiest men in New York. Luxury penthouses, private jets, magazine covers, millions of followers online. People admired his success, but success had slowly turned into arrogance. To Ethan, poor people were reminders of weakness. That evening, after humiliating the waitress, he forgot about her completely. Meanwhile, the old woman quietly finished her shift. Her name was Margaret Hayes. She was 73 years old, and she had been hiding a secret for decades. 3 days later, Ethan sat inside his office preparing for a major business deal when his assistant rushed inside. Her face was pale. "Mr. Caldwell, there's a lawyer here demanding to see you." Ethan frowned. "About what?" "An inheritance." Ethan laughed. "Wrong person." But the lawyer insisted. Minutes later, a thick envelope landed on Ethan's desk. The lawyer opened it carefully. Then he said something that made Ethan freeze. "Margaret Hayes passed away yesterday." Ethan immediately recognized the name. The waitress, the woman he humiliated. The lawyer continued, "And according to her final will, she left everything to you." Ethan blinked. "What?" The room fell silent. There must be some mistake. But there wasn't. Margaret had left Ethan an inheritance worth nearly $20 million. The billionaire couldn't understand it. Why would a poor waitress leave him anything? Then came the second envelope. Inside was a faded photograph. The moment Ethan saw it, his heart stopped. A little boy stood beside a smiling woman. That little boy was him, and the woman was Margaret. His hands started shaking. Who is she? The lawyer looked surprised. "You really don't remember?" Ethan felt a knot forming in his stomach. The lawyer took a deep breath. 28 years ago, after your parents died, Margaret became your legal guardian." The world seemed to stop moving. Ethan stared at the photograph. His chest tightened. The lawyer continued, "She worked 3 jobs to raise you. She paid for your school. She sacrificed everything so you could have opportunities she never had." Ethan couldn't breathe. Memories started returning. A small apartment, warm homemade meals, a woman reading bedtime stories, a voice saying, "One day you'll achieve great things." Margaret. Then the lawyer handed him a final letter. Ethan opened it slowly. The handwriting was shaky. "Dear Ethan, when I saw you in the restaurant, I recognized you immediately. I wanted to tell you who I was, but I realized something painful. The little boy I raised had disappeared." Tears filled Ethan's eyes. The letter continued, "I don't leave you this money because you need it. I leave it to remind you of the person you used to be. Money built your success. Kindness builds your legacy. I hope one day you learn the difference." For the first time in years, Ethan cried. Not because of money, not because of business, but because he finally understood what he had become. The woman he mocked, the woman he humiliated, the woman he treated like she was worthless, had spent her entire life loving him, and she never stopped, not even at the end. Months later, people noticed something strange. The billionaire who once looked down on everyone had disappeared from magazine covers. Instead, he spent his time funding shelters, paying medical bills, and helping elderly workers retire with dignity. No interviews, no cameras, no publicity. Just quiet acts of kindness. Because Margaret's final gift wasn't $20 million. It was the painful lesson that changed his heart forever. Moral lesson: never look down on someone because of their age, job, or appearance. The people you disrespect today may be the very people who helped you become who you are. If this story touched your heart, subscribe, like, and share. You never know who might need this reminder today.